Okay, so it's gonna take a couple of minutes, or like a minute or two. So you always cross your fingers, right? Let me know when it does. No, it's coming through. Almost there, guys. Hang in there. Cross your fingers. Oh, yep, we are live, guys. Hey, in Bold Land.
Hey.
Hello, everybody in that Bold world. My name is Pat Mancuso, and I am the Director of Sales for Bold, and it is Monday, and we are live, Facebook Live, with some incredible talent. I cannot believe who had time for us today. So I want to introduce 3 individuals to you. I'm going to let them do the introductions. However, we have an incredible OP, an incredible team leader, an incredible productivity coach, and they're going to share their perspectives today on the new Bold, how Bold has transformed their life, and just some other things. We might have some surprises today, I'm thinking. So, Mr. Ron Wexler, let's start with you. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and whatever else you want to tell us as an intro.
Great. So my name is Ron Wexler. I'm a KW agent here in Chicago. I'm a mega agent. I have a team that closes about 250 deals a year plus. I'm also an OP of 2 offices. And just to throw in real fast, I've been in business probably longer than anyone except Pat. And I would tell you that I was part of Bold from its inception, really. And I've taken it as a student 12 times. So that tells you something about how I feel about Bold.
Yeah, and it also tells you how long and how old I am around Bold, because you were in that first Bold the first week that we launched in Chicago. I'll never forget that. It was a transformational Bold. And boy, you look around at the people that were in that room and how many are still in real estate and he keep coming back to Bold. It was just amazing. So I'm so glad and grateful that you're on the call today. So welcome.
Thank you.
Miss Colette Palmer, you're representing the PCs of the world, the productivity coaches. Tell us about yourself.
So my name is Colette Palmer. We are stationed in Knoxville, Tennessee. I have been with Keller Williams for the past 5 years and in the role of productivity coach the past 4 years, 6 times Bold. And our PC program here, we are on track to do about 50 cappers this year. Wow. And nice. Over $1 million in company dollar.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've got a great program.
That's a fantastic, Colette. Now, I'm just going to go out on a limb. Were you in the service?
I was not in the service, no.
When you said station, that just sounded like a military background. Like, right, guys? You're like,
yeah.
Here. I love that. I love that. Fantastic. Well, thanks for being here today, Colette. We're glad that you're, and congratulations on your success, by the way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
The team leader and the OP on the outside, you're on the call there going, okay, we need to talk with her. We need to. I already saw their wheels turn.
They're like, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we need to get in touch with her. Randy, talk to us. Randy Olive.
Yeah, so team leader here in Houston, Texas. Gosh, Bold is huge to me. I came from the outside, from the corporate world, nothing about real estate, completely lost, and it was the very first thing that I did, jumping into a producing agent, and it was by far set my career off. And so I'm a huge proponent for Bold. I love it. I think it's the very first thing people should do. I love that I was shoved into it because it made all the difference.
Well, and Randy, I love that you said that, shove that into it. And sometimes we have to pull people. Sometimes we have to push them. Sometimes we pull them on our shoulders. And then sometimes people just need a kick. And yet once they get in there and they see how Bold has transformed their life, they're like so grateful that whoever shoved you into it, shoved you into it. Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, which is, sorry, no, I was just going to say, which is also fun to be able to transform that into how many very purposeful conversations I now have because I needed to be prodded. I want to make sure that the purposeful conversations are coming into like what it actually does to transform who you are in your business is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to stay right there. And you said a word, transform. And so I'm going to kind of come back around the circle. Randy, let's start with you. One of the things that I've experienced in the years over Bold is many times, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I'm just being transparent, is that leaders are in the room and they say, I'm here to support my agents versus transforming their own life first. It's really interesting. We had an opportunity to meet with Gary about a week and a half ago. We're rewriting Bold Leader. And one of the questions he asked when we walked in the room is he said, what is leadership? And, we gave kind of the typical answer. Well, it's lead by example. It's, it's leading others. It's getting them to, and he comes back and he says, leadership is about transforming yourself, your thinking first, so you can actually lead others to think differently. And so when you said transform, I really feel like sometimes leaders don't transform their life. And I've heard you all talk about how Bold has transformed your life and your leaders. So talk to us about that, Randy.
Yeah, no, when I look at it from what I think is really important is that we tend to put business into motion before we put our mind and body into motion. And I think we have to be able to have business has to follow our mind and our body first. Like without that, we don't have. And so for me, I've actually taken Bold more as a leader than I did as a producing agent because it's been so much more important for me to continue to grow, to continue to learn, and to continue to be transformed. Like I am daily transforming in my position that if I am not, then how can I actually tap into just the brilliance of our agents? So, man, for me, it's not even an option. It's necessary.
Right. No doubt. So Colette, how would you respond to that transformation question as an individual leader? Like how has Bold transformed your life?
Well, I mean, I would have to agree in the fact that the first time I ever took Bold was when I first became an agent. So I took it as an individual agent. I think that was key for me because just getting started in real estate, it not only transformed my business and really ramped it. I became like a different person through Bold.
Right.
And so then to take it now as leadership, which I've done 5 times as leadership, you're always in a different place in leadership. You're always growing. And so to not only grow yourself, but then to be right there in the room, watching those agents develop as well, it is a transforming experience, not only for myself, but man, for every single agent that we get in that room.
Well, and I love that you said it's transforming. Mm-hmm. And the greatest part as a Bold coach, and I'm sure you guys as leaders have experienced this, is when somebody comes up to you and says, thank you for helping transform my life. Yep. And you look at them and you go, yeah, you know what? Thank you first. I don't want to be disrespectful. And I didn't transform your life. We just created the environment for you to do it. And you actually took the action to do it. And yet there isn't a better feeling in the world as a leader when somebody says that, because you know you had an impact on somebody's life.
That's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. Ron, how about, I mean, there's no transformation in your world with 13, 14 times Bold, right?
Yeah, right. What's really fun about it is my attitude, we were with that original group that helped Diana create it, right? And then, yep. You came and taught it here in Chicago, and we jammed people in that room. We fought to get them in that room. It was the first time. And we were like, we want every agent in our company in this class. That's how amazing it's going to be. And I really did focus mostly on getting them in the room and being there for them. Right. And then after that first time, I started taking it as a student and I was like, yeah, I think I know all this stuff. And it's like, no, I need to be in here, becoming the leader that I want to become for them. Yeah. And so I started making it about, me transforming me so I can lead them. Absolutely. And it changed the whole perspective on it, for sure.
So guys, I want to shift gears a little bit. You know, I don't know if y'all know this, you may or may not, and some of you may, I think some of you are participating. The October launch, we have 140 locations that are launching in October. It's the biggest launch ever in the history of Bold. We might add a couple more with some of the things that are already happening. You guys all lead people into Bold. You influence them. Like leaders have influence, and you influence them into Bold. Tell me what the most successful strategy, if you may, or a compelling conversation that you use to help agents think differently to lead them into Bold. What would you say? And Randy, let's start with you.
So I think one of the things that I look at is we lose sight of the connection points in the busyness of the industry. So regardless of what step you are within your growth as an agent, Bold tends to have just a drawback into those spaces. So I actually do a lot of personal phone calls. I know that that's a driving factor for me, is just the personal phone calls. I've had the privilege of having some amazing Bold coaches, because y'all have some amazing Bold coaches that partner with me in that. And so having that moment, that conversation about reconnecting at a higher level, so that then they realize it's not just about, do I have time? Is it possible? It's like, no, it's necessary. And I don't think we lose connection in busyness. And so I drive that conversation, I think, more than anything, in a personal conversation with the agents that I have.
Well, I know, you know, Colette and Ron will touch on this, yet you're touching on something which is critical right now in the new Bold, and we're going to talk about the new Bold in just a second. Gary, you know, we're obviously building this moat around the database, and the database is the most important thing. And now, if you've heard the conversations, now it's about, first we go, okay, it's the database. Now it's about how do we contribute to the database, and how we connect with the database as we contribute to them. And that's really what you're talking about, because frankly, a market center database is no different than an agent's database, right? If we're going to expect the database to give us referrals, we've got to be connected. If we're going to expect the database to grow, we need to be connected. And that's you're saying one-on-one conversations, and at least with your top people.
Yes, top people, absolutely. And the expectations that we set from the leadership, when did we do Bold? How did we do Bold? How is it connecting back to our business, and having those conversations? The top agents want to see those things in action. And so there's a second, I think, piece to the conversation initially, is that, are we living it out? And Bold helps me to always be drawn into that space.
I love it. I love it. Colette, what would you share?
So I would say, I mean, we have one-on-one conversations. Obviously, you know, one of our main goals is to get as many coaching clients into the room as possible. And we usually trend about 65% of the Bold room is from the coaching program.
Wow.
So one of our big things that, you know, we typically hear from agents is the cost.
Right.
So, you know, and we just kind of have that conversation around, you know, are you willing to put forth and invest in yourself and your business $799 with the return of possibly getting between $75,000 and $90,000 in return? So, and I mean, it's hard to say no to that.
Yeah, like if I came to you all today and said, hey, I've got an investment that'll return $90,000 to you, could you find $800? Like, yeah, hello.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And our leadership team here, I mean, they are super, super supportive. We just got done. We're one of the launches on October 8th. Yeah. And yeah, I know it's going to be awesome. And we just got done having a carnival where they gave away quarter scholarships and half scholarships for those people that were like right there on the fence. I mean, it was fantastic. So the support, I mean, everybody rallies around Bold here.
So real quick, I mean, because you opened the door, tell me about the carnival. I love that idea. Let's hear about that.
Okay. Yes. Like we had a full-blown buffet, corn dogs, cotton candy machine. They threw darts to balloons to get their scholarships out of them. It was so much fun. It was a blast.
So was this part of your team meeting?
Yes, it was. It was part of our team meeting.
And then did the Bold coach zoom in?
Yes, he did. Dusty was there. Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question, because many times leaders miss this. This is a part of our model. We call it the Bold Zoom meeting or the Skype meeting. And You lay it out like an event, like a carnival. I love that. And then you're really maximizing and leveraging the energy, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So just ballpark, how many people were at the carnival?
Probably 40, 50 people.
And how many registered? Do you know about?
I think 12 ended up registering out of that.
So like 20
in the hour. In the hour. Yeah.
Talk about leverage and then the momentum and the energy from that.
Right. And our Bold coach, I mean, he's even offered, he's Skyping into our group coaching programs this week. Like we usually meet once a week for group coaching, and he's going to Skype in and help us with that. He's been super supportive.
And one last thing, Colette, before I leave, and then I'll go to Ron, is it really sounds like you look at Bold as leverage for your coaching program, which obviously with the results of Bold helps you create more income.
Right. Absolutely.
You'd want everybody you could in there.
Every single one of them.
Every one of them. I love it. Okay, Mr. Ron O.P. Wexler, what are your strategies from an OP perspective around Bold?
So I think our best sales pitch is one agent telling their story to another. And so what we'll do is in the team meetings prior to Bold, have someone get up and just share what a difference it made for them in their career. And we had 2.0 here a couple months ago, and the talk about that and people just talking about how amazing especially the people who have Bold fatigue, it's like, I've taken it 6 times. I've taken it 7 times. So it's like, it is completely transformed. And I understand it's even different than the one we just took, a few months ago, that you guys have redone it again. So it's really getting people talking about it and saying, what difference it's made for them. Because when we're talking about it, we're just trying to sell them something. When another agent shares, they're sharing what's going on in their world and what difference it made for them. And we've got some great Bold stories within our office.
Well, and what's always fun from a leadership perspective, sometimes people go, you mentioned Bold fatigue, and I look at the numbers of a market center that has 20 or 30% of their agents in Bold, and then I look at the trending of Company Dollar and GCI and cap status, and then I go, I'll take that type of fatigue all day long with using leverage Bold for 7 weeks, right? So
well, the thing is,
go ahead.
The thing is, nobody got into real estate because they love routine and doing the same thing over and over. We all got in it so nobody could tell us what to do.
When to do it, and then how to do it, right?
Right. And so instead you find out that everywhere that you succeed in real estate is where you follow a system and do what you're supposed to do every day, even though you didn't want to. And Bold's the same way. You take it over and over and over because it's a foundational piece of your success. But agents don't want to do it because it's the same thing over and over and over.
Shocking that habits actually work, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I love it. Well, let me take a second, guys, and let me talk to you about the new Bold as long as I have you all here, and then our Facebook Live land, if you may. So there's really a couple of fundamental things that we did with the new Bold, and we're calling it Bold Sales System because Bold has always been a system. And Gary pointed this out to us when we met with him when we rewrote Bold, is that it's always been a system, yet we didn't talk about systems a lot in Bold like it was a system. And yet we're a company of systems. Millionaire Real Estate Agent is a system. One Thing is a system. Career Visioning is a system. Shift is a system. And so Bold is very nimble now. And so in October, you're going to see some things that came out of Mega Camp that we can incorporate now into the new Bold because we're a lot more nimble, if you may, taking what's happening in the market. And yet there's 3 big fundamental foundational things we've shared with people. The first one is database. And I can't begin to tell you how many top producers and experienced agents will come into the Bold room and they're coming back to kind of like see is Bold really different. And what they're realizing is that they have such a gap in their database. They think they're doing a good job, and they are, let's make no mistake, and yet all they need to do is follow the DTD2 system. We just had this happen last week where they call the letters that we're asking them to call, and they get a deal, and they know they wouldn't have gotten that deal unless they called those letters. And so that database is their one thing. In fact, what we've done is we've taken for sale by owners and expireds out of Bold. We can focus on those someplace else in Keller Williams because we understand how important this database is. And you guys, you already know, and I know you know this as leaders, if we don't get this database thing right, the way we came into real estate, Ron, us old folks, if you may, it's going to totally change, because if we don't add value to that database, then we don't really have any value, and our opportunity to make income drops. The second thing we did with the new Bold is that we've allowed people to lead generate in their own comfortable behavioral style. It used to be, we'd have a script and we'd read the script and, follow the script this way, don't change the script. And that worked, by the way. 14 average transactions over 10 years, it worked. And yet we lost some people, transparently, where they go, ooh, that doesn't sound like me. And we'd always say, well, what do you sound like? Let's look at your bank account. And that was kind of fun. And yet that only went so far. Where now in the new Bold, we're saying no matter your behavioral style, no matter where your success level is, you can have a conversation, because we do it all the time. In fact, this is a conversation, guys, yes or no?
Yes.
This is just a conversation, and yet make no mistake, there's a model to what we're doing. So people have really embraced that. And then the last thing that people have done is, and I'm looking for it and I can't seem to find it, or was here somewhere, is we're on that phone, that technology thing all day long. And yet that's how people communicate. Ron, we have to accept the fact that's how people communicate today. I am sorry, Ron. It's just the way it is.
Right.
Right? You and I, we used to, face to face. So we've incorporated into the new Bold two-way texting, two-way social media, online reviews, client parties. And here's the cool part about what's happening to Bold, and I want everybody to hear this. We've got people coming out of the woodwork. The Cody Gibsons of the world, and the Tony Baronis of the world, and just top people who are David Huffaker, and what they're doing is they're bringing their strategies into Bold because they adopt the mindset, they love the model, and they're saying, hey, here's our model of success, use it, and we're bringing it in the room, and people are loving it. I mean, just as an example, how many of you guys have searched for a restaurant, bought a service online where you've gone online to review it? Anybody?
Oh, yeah.
And yet if you go into a Bold room and you ask agents, how many of you get online reviews for every real estate transaction you do? Very few hands show up, which tells us that we're disconnected from what's going on in the, our real world, if you may. And so those are just a couple of things. And I'm telling you, people are on fire. In fact, you'll all love this, and I would share this with the group. I had a gentleman come up to me down at Mega Camp, and he wasn't in one of my Bolds. It was one of our other Bolds with one of our great coaches. And if y'all remember, we have that script. We've left it in. Do you have 2 minutes to help me with the problem? You all know that script, right? And it's a great script because people want to help people, and they're naturally willing to help. And he says, Pat, because I now have the freedom to flex on the script, I added something. He says, at the end, if they said they didn't have a referral, I said, not a problem. This is what he told me. He says, I'd say, not a problem. The competition goes for 5 more weeks. And so if you get a referral in the next 5 weeks, send it to me. Now, guys, that adjustment of a slight script, he got 68 referrals during Bold.
Whoa.
Wow.
Just by making that small adjustment. And that's what people are loving about Bold, the new Bold. So, guys, we're kind of, we're coming to an end here. And there's, I want to have one question at the end yet. Tell me what you would share with people if you've been to the new Bold. So those were my words about the new Bold. If you've been, what did you experience, and what did your agents experience?
Yeah, so I'll start if that's okay. For me, it's been a couple of things. First is that we tend to talk about the drunk monkey scenario. The systems are so, you said nimble. I love that you use the word nimble when describing Bold right now. The systems give us the space to get the drunk monkey out of the way so that our brain power isn't used in that space. And so now we have the autonomy to actually treat our database as a systematic approach to building business out from it, which that's huge for me, is to be able to take the brain power out. Second thing is it's brought creativity back to the forefront. In the MREA, Gary speaks about our ability to execute systems so that creativity, our innate creativity, is blossoming. That it happens when you ever have those systems. And Bold is reinvigorating that creativity, which I think is brilliant. And the last thing you mentioned about having the flexibility in the scripting, and yet what's still there is the language of sales to prop us up to not just talk. It's talking with purpose. It's E to P. And the driving factor of E to P is all over the new systemized Bold, the nimbleness of Bold. And so those have been huge for me, man. And to talk about how that's translated into our agents' businesses, it's been a catapult this year. This is the first time a lot of our new agents have taken Bold 2.0, and all of them are like, this I want to do again.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And as coaches, we're super passionate because we're seeing the reignition, if you may, in that room. So
Yeah.
Ron, what would you say? And, you know, Randy kind of set you up a little bit of that language of sales that you don't know anything about that, do you?
There's a language of sales webinar tomorrow. No. So anyways, you know, honestly, for me, what I loved this last one that I took, what I loved about it is I don't love this fact, but I don't have a team leader right now. So I was there as the team leader and the OP and as one of the top agents. And I was watching people who have been through Bold over and over, who we dragged into the room,
Right.
absolutely have this amazing experience. Go, oh my God, it's so different. It's so, and I'm sitting here going, well, you know, 70% of it is kind of the same, but you know, you guys are like, it's just because it's anything different, you're going to love it. And of course, then as it went on, they changed it more drastically each week.
Right.
There was more and more bigger changes as time went on. So like I said, I can't wait to see the new one. And, you know, ultimately what it comes down to is I don't think there's anyone in a leadership position at KW that isn't here because they want to make a difference in other people's lives. And that's, I mean, I think if you talk just about everyone, no one got into it just because it was about the money for them or about themselves. They did it because they're the kind of people who just love helping other people and being a part of something bigger than themselves, right? That's why most of us are here. And helping other people get on that journey and move towards opportunity and getting them off of, oh, they're just going to make us do expireds and FSBOs, which I built my whole entire business on, right? But I know that and that's 5% of all the people on the planet have the behavior that resonates with pounding expireds and FSBOs 3 hours a day for 18 years, however long I did it, right? So that's it's 5% of the world. The other 95% were kind of feeling beat up. And now this new Bold, they're all like, oh my God, I'm just calling all my A&Ws today. And it's like, well, that's all we've been begging you to do for the last 15 years. But for some reason, they receive this so much better. It's just so much more comfortable for people. And it's like, I just look at it like we're going to get to transform more lives faster and see more results as the new Bold kicks in.
Well, and one thing you said, Ron, which I want to clarify because I'm always in tune with how people hear it. We left a lot in Bold. There's no doubt about it because it's fundamental, it's foundational. However, there is nothing in that material that is said the same way. Videos are all done differently. We've pulled a bunch of stuff out. I was on the call this morning with the Bold that we're launching, and people asked, I said, well, do you have any questions? They say, is the money drop in Bold? Nope, that's out. Is the posters in Bold? Nope, that's out. And it was hilarious because all the things that they didn't like were out, and they're like, wow, this is awesome. You actually listened to us when we rewrote it. You know, that was kind of fun. It was kind of fun.
Right.
So Colette, what would you say? What would you say?
I would say just the biggest thing, I mean, we labbed Bold 2.0 in the spring, and the biggest thing that not only myself personally, I saw the agents take away is the relationship-based conversations.
Yeah,
and it is just going back to that system of the DTD2.
Right.
And we came out of the lab and went straight into a 13-week fast track program and brought the same systems from Bold 2.0 into that. And I tell you what, the results that came from Bold coupled with the fast track were, I mean, incredible because everybody, they were in their strength zone. They didn't feel like they had to be someone else based on a script. They got to be themselves and just build and nurture relationships.
And that's really the name of the game, because if we don't build those relationships, then cost becomes our value proposition. And if cost becomes our value proposition, at some point you lose that game, you lose that battle. So guys, we're coming to the end, and I asked you to kind of be prepared. If there was one thing that you would share as a parting thought, whether it's to leaders listening or to agents on the fence listening, what would you share? Colette, let's start with you. What would be your final thought that you would share with everybody?
I would say, I mean, probably the biggest thing is just getting people back to basics with the database and just consistently through the systems that are provided, communicating and building those relationships with their database.
So get back to the basics. I love that.
Back to the basics. Mm-hmm.
Randy?
Yeah, so mine would be the first step towards those people who are curious about the new Bold is be vulnerable, embrace vulnerability so that your mind is open to what is possible. I think there's so much that we're leaving on the table when we don't have that vulnerability scale.
Yeah, and Randy, to tie into that, I hear people say, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I did Bold before, I'm too busy, and all of those are limiting beliefs that we talk about in the Bold room, and those are blind spots, and that really is what ends up catching up with people at some point, is those blind spots. I love it. Ron?
All right. Well, the intention of Bold has always been about transformation. It's always been the number one thing. That's always been what we worked on, what we focused on, what's been important. And that has never changed. It's never gone away. Right. And this Bold is that on steroids. So it's insane. It's insane not to be in it and to bring as many people. This is the journey, right? We talked about from the day Bold came into existence, it was about transformation. This is the most transformational thing KW's ever had, even more so than the previous Bold. As amazing as it was, this is absolutely, it is the difference between being here in 5 years and maybe not.
Yeah, and Ron, you said the word journey, and that's really what it is. And so guys, here's what the final thing I'd like to do. You guys are all in leadership positions. You're all responsible for growth in a market center. And so just share contact information with everybody. If they had somebody who was moving, talk about what area you're in. And if somebody were to reach out to you, Ron, you said something about, leadership opportunities. And here's what's fun. The leadership opportunities are always in a Bold room, because you all were in Bold at some point as agents, and look where you are now. And that's what a Bold room is. It's kind of an experiment of leadership, if you may. So share what area you cover and how would somebody get in touch with you relative to a referral or somebody who's getting into real estate in your area. Ron, let's start with you.
So it's Ron Wexler. It's just ron@ronwexler.com, WEXLER. My sales team covers Chicagoland. My offices cover Chicagoland. We are looking for some great leaders, and just get in Bold, come play with us, and bring your people along on the journey.
I love it. I love it. And if you do reach out, our culture in KW, just so you know, as reminders, if you do reach out for an opportunity, make sure you always check with your local leadership first before you reach out, so that you're in alignment on that. Again, it's kind of one of those things that's been around for a while. And as a culture ambassador, I always want to make sure we put you in the best position to succeed with that. Sure. Randy, how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so Houston, Texas, anywhere and everywhere in Houston, Texas. And the easiest thing for me would probably be like my name right there at the bottom of the screen, @RandyOlive. Find me on Instagram. I talk on Instagram probably to more people than anywhere else.
I heard about that Instagram thing. It's something that's really catching up, isn't it?
What is that?
Just a little bit,
yeah.
Is that
so sort of like a Telegram or something? What is that?
It's the same exact thing. It's exactly a Telegram.
I read something over the weekend that somebody went from like 100 Instagram followers to like 10,000 in 30 days. It was amazing.
I don't think I'm that cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know Instagram was around. So there you go. Colette, take us away. How would they get in touch with you?
Email's the best. It's ColettePalmer@kw.com. We cover the Knoxville area, Greater Smoky Mountains, East Tennessee, and yeah.
Awesome.
Email.
Guys, thank you so much. Guys and gals, I always have to say that. Sorry. Thank you so much for your time today. For those of you that are watching on Facebook, we're so glad that you're here. Please reach out if you've got lead opportunities for these folks. Incredible talent. Thank you all so much. Appreciate y'all. Have a bold day, guys.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
Go get 'em. Be bold.
Beautiful.
Be bold. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.